Welcome to NFL World, where NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob, and welcome to the NFL Dream. On this episode, we're going to travel to Houston and talk about the Houston Texans, which before we do, everyone right now, like the video, subscribe, share the video. It's absolutely free. Why haven't you already done it? It's much needed, and please and thank you. It helps us out a ton. So the Houston Texans, I'm looking at what they did in free agency, and they did a lot. They really did. They signed Trent Brown, who was with the Patriots, went to the Raiders when Josh McDaniels became the head coach. Didn't work, ended up back with the Patriots, had kind of stuck around for a little while. Now he's on his way, or currently already there in Houston, for, as we will get into a little bit later in the show, of bodies are needed at that position currently. Irv Smith Jr., unrestricted free agent, tight end formerly of the Minnesota Vikings. He comes over as a free agent. Ron Darby, who's been there forever, who has been around the NFL forever, he signs with the team. Cam Robinson signs with the team. Also on the Darby front, he had retired, so they signed him and then he retired. Just a sec. Cam Robinson signed as a free agent. Again, similar to Trent Brown. We'll get into it. I believe it's pronounced Jacob, but I'm not 100% certain. So we'll call him Jacob for now. Jacob Johnson, signed as a free agent. He's the fullback. New England, Raiders, Houston. You see where I'm going with this. Christian Kirk, traded to the Texans from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Quick sidebar, Kirk was going to get traded to the Buffalo Bills before the deadline. He ended up getting hurt, and so they had the Knicks to trade. Oh, that's how they did it. So the trade was pretty much done. He gets hurt, breaks his collarbone. That nixes the trade. Now he's healthy, traded to the Texans, which they needed some help. Kenyon Green was part of the C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade. We will get into that more a little bit later in the show. Derek Barnett re-signed in a one-year deal. He wasn't really going to go anyway, because no one really wants a guy who has been only all right in his career. Sheldon Rankins signed as a free agent. A little bit of a return. He was there in 2023, signed with the Bengals, and was awful. Was not good, did not fit. I don't know if age was a factor, but he didn't look like he fit in what they wanted to do. So he comes back. Mario Edwards Jr. had been there, left, now he's back. Laken Tomlinson was expected to be your Kenyon Green replacement. Just thought that was a little weird, because if you actually see his body of work, he's an all right guard, but he's not a good offensive guard. That's just not what he is. Braxton Berrios is a great special teamer, and you can put him out in the slot for most things, so that works. You needed that. Justin Watson came over from the Chiefs. Berrios was from the Dolphins, by the way. Watson came from the Chiefs. Okay, take him from the Chiefs. That's basically doing the rest of the NFL a service at this point. At least in my expert opinion. Nick Chubb, it took him a while to get signed, but he did get signed. And I understand, there's a lot of running backs there. And I know that the Joe Mixon injury is a big deal. But Nick Chubb has been there. He's done that. He's been a starter. So you're not that concerned. And that's a big deal. So I want to see if what Watson brings, does that benefit anybody? And what Nick Chubb brings, does that benefit that team as well? It's all stacked up together, especially if you go up to even rankings. Like you have to think about that. But there's a lot of running backs on that team, so I'm concerned of what that means for Dameon Pierce. Quite possibly means he's either getting dealt or cut within the next week and a half. Casey Tuhill signed as a free agent. Zach Thomas signed as a free agent, joining the Houston Texans. No, not the linebacker from 25 years ago. No. Different guy. One's in the Hall of Fame, one's still playing. Now, talking about the draft picks in 2025, the Texans had 7 draft picks. They just all had their draft picks in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 6th rounds. They drafted, because remember, they traded out of the 1st round to the Giants for the Giants to get Jackson Dart. Jaden Higgins was their pick in the 2nd round. That was the whole thing about they gave him a completely guaranteed contract. What does that mean for the rest of the number 2s, the rest of the 2nd round picks? All those months. And also, I believe this is how you pronounce it, Ariante Ezeri. The offensive tackle. They don't list where they went to school, though, which is kind of odd. Then they also select, in the 3rd round, Jalen Knoll, who also played with Higgins in college, so now they're teammates again, and Jalen Smith, the cornerback. Again, they don't list them together, but that's kind of what they did. And you could see with Knoll and Higgins, the type that they were trying to get. Trying to get more guys like Nico Collins, because in the playoffs, you ran out of guys. You're playing Robert Woods actual snaps at his advanced age. It wasn't beneficial to anybody at this point. That's what it was. Hank Dell got hurt. Stephon Diggs got hurt. Both of them with season-ending injuries. Tragic. But it was to the point in the playoffs you were only throwing the ball to Nico Collins. Occasionally to Dalton Schultz, but you didn't even try. Which is the sad thing. Just hurt to anything else. Because other guys can get separation. Which is why I was surprised they didn't hold on to Stephon Diggs. That's kind of what he does. So, round 4, this is one of the best names I've ever heard. Woody Marks, the running back. That's great to me. When I see a name like that, it makes me so excited. It is like when the Falcons signed Divine Diablo, that was the greatest name I had ever heard. I've heard some good ones. Divine Diablo is easily the best name I've ever heard. Woody Marks is now up there, in my opinion. It's really funny. But he's a running back. He was selected in the 4th round. So again, we talked about it. A lot of running backs. I'm curious to see who is on this depth chart at the end, because it's going to be really interesting. In round 6, Jalen Reed and Graham Mertz. Reed is a safety. He kind of plays both free safety and strong safety. To quickly explain what that is, it's a free safety is going to be more of a loner in the back of the team, in the back of the defense. He's going to be, if we got to blitz someone, we're blitzing the strong safety. The free safety is just going to hang back there and try to assist coverage of the wide receivers. That's all he's doing. But he can also play some strong safety, because they label him SAF, which is not their normal labeling system. And Graham Mertz is a quarterback. Don't be surprised by this. It's very simple. Mertz, or any quarterback that is selected in the 6th round, is either going to be a good backup for you or just a camper. That's all they're going to be. So don't get beyond that. Before we go into the next segment, I want to say this for sure. When you have a strong safety, that means more or less, if you're going to blitz him or do anything, you're going to put him closer to the line of scrimmage for him to just be a tackler. Because a strong safety is normally, of the two, is the better tackler. That's how that works. Next up, the people they lost in free agency. Laremy Tunsil was traded, which was a shocker. That shocked me. That was the reason they brought in Trent Brown, Cam Robinson, Adante Ezeri. Or Ariante Ezeri, excuse me. That's why they brought him in, because they traded their all-pro, Pro Bowl tackle to the Commanders and didn't get anything of a left tackle in the trade in return. Then they traded Kenyon Green away as part of the C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade. They brought in Denzel Perryman with the Chargers. Denzel Perryman signs with the Chargers, We're not going to get into the whole issue with Denzel Perryman right now. We might wait till closer in the season before we start talking about it. Hold on. We're not going to talk about the Perriman situation right now. I know if you know it, great. If not, we'll tell you in about a week or two. Because I really don't want to get into it at this point. Because I don't know what the NFL is going to do. Next up, I believe it's pronounced Tevier. Tevier Thomas signed with the Buccaneers. His contract had expired. So, okay. So he walks. And then they just recently traded John Mechie, the third, to the Philadelphia Eagles. And I want to explain this trade very quickly. When they traded C.J. Gardner-Johnson, because these two trades are linked. When Gardner-Johnson was traded from the Eagles to the Texans, Kenyon Green was the return as well as a pick. They swapped day threes. And then when they traded for John Mechie, Harrison Bryant, who is a tight end, formerly of the Rams, joined the Eagles, now is traded to the Texans for John Mechie, and the picks that they swapped in the Gardner-Johnson trade are now going back. So what the Eagles sent to the Texans are sending back with John Mechie to the Eagles. What the Eagles got from the Texans, they are sending him, or that pick and Harrison Bryant, to the Texans. It's very simple. Now, looking at how their standings were, they won their division last year, but they were not a very good team. It looked like C.J. Stroud kind of hit the sophomore slump, the second-year wall, as it's referred to in some other places. The team went 10-7. They won 58% of their game. They were 5-3 at home, 5-4 on the road. That's common. They won their last game, but to still only beat the Colts by 2 games, that's what concerns me a little bit. Again, teams adjust to a new quarterback. It takes them some time. Maybe it's that season. Maybe it's the next. But it makes you really go like, is he as good as we think he is? And yes, he just has to readjust. That's all he has to do. And sometimes it's readjust everything. Or sometimes it's just readjust the field. Most of the time it is, but a lot of these guys are creatures of habit. Where they say, okay, I'm getting rid of that, I'm doing this now. and then they start doing that, and then that becomes their habit. It could be like they take a nap at 3, now all of a sudden they're taking a nap at 2. Or they take a certain road to get to the stadium, now they're taking another road to the stadium. It's just what they do. And some don't, but some also do. Looking at the schedule for 2025, I'm seeing a very doable schedule, in my opinion. They're at the Rams week 1. That's a 4:25 game, which would be like 1:25 on the East Coast, on the West Coast. Home for Tampa Bay week 2 at 7 o'clock. That game's on ABC and ESPN. At Jacksonville, home for Tennessee, at Baltimore, bye week 6. You know my thing, I'll quickly explain it. Bye week earlier than week 8 really bother me because of injuries. You're not super injured at that point. Where if you could have had a bye week and be like week 10 or 11 at the latest, if that's where your bye week is, you can be like, okay, we were really banged up, but now we get the week off, which we need. Because they don't have a 10-day break until after week 12. Leading into week 13, they had the 10-day break, but that's a long time to go. Then they'll come back on the bye week, Monday nighter at Seattle on ESPN. That's another doubleheader they're doing. That's a 10. Home for San Francisco, home for Denver, home for Jacksonville, so you get a nice home stand. At Tennessee, home for Buffalo, at Indianapolis, at Kansas City in the cold. So what I could say for Buffalo, I can say for Kansas City, but I can't say it in the same way. You're playing Buffalo at home in November. It's going to be cold in Buffalo, but you're at home in Houston. You're good. You don't have to worry about it. In Kansas City, when you go, it's going to be December 7th, that game, on a Sunday night. It's going to be cold, frigid. It's going to be freezing. It's not going to be a great experience. I wouldn't be shocked if they lost that game. I would not be shocked. Then they finish up the year, 3 of the last 4 at home. Home for Arizona, home for the Raiders, at the Chargers, and then they finish off the year at home versus the Indianapolis Colts. Looking at that schedule and seeing that they went 10-7 last year, my prediction for this team is 11-6, 10-7. That sweet spot is where they are. And I still think it's going to be the same issue they had a year ago, which is they only beat the second seed by about 2 games. Because the cold mixed with having to play a certain number of teams. Like, you're home for Tampa Bay, so you don't have to deal with that weather. But then the next week, you're at Jacksonville. That's bad. Then you're at Baltimore. That's a tough team. Rams are a tough team too, but it's not the same. And then you're at Seattle. I think San Francisco is going to be better too. So I got 6 to 7 losses for them. So that's where I am. 11-6, 10-7. The record, I have their record being in 2025. 11-6 or 10-7. But let me know in the comments what you think what do you think the Houston Texans record will be in 2025? For NFL World, I'm Jacob Hebert. Out.